Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who's also the chairperson of the State Capture Commission, has released a statement today about the delays in the handover of the fifth and final volume of the Commission's report. In the statement, Zondo denies media claims that he and President Cyril Ramaphosa met yesterday. He also says that the postponement of the handover was agreed upon at his insistence because he wanted to go through the report one last time to see if there were any errors. Justice Zondo has also denied claims that President Ramaphosa interfered with the work of the Commission or, in fact, the judiciary. The Commission has also apologized to the nation for any inconvenience caused. All right, let's talk more about this then with the Executive Director at Corruption Watch, Karam Singh. Karam, always good to have you on the program. So the delay in handing over the Commission's report, especially this week, has roused a lot of suspicion following the reporting around whether or not there had been a meeting between the chairperson and the President. Are people justified in being so suspicious?
Know whether they're justified. I think the President hasn't had incredibly good timing the last couple of weeks in terms of some of the big decisions he's made, but I think this was a decision that was made by the Chief Justice in his capacity as chair of the Commission. And I think up to this point, Chief Justice Zondo has conducted himself impeccably with integrity and above reproach. So I think when it comes to any kind of claims that he would be subject to manipulation, I think that's far-fetched. But I think we have to understand that we do have a trust deficit at the moment, and that people are skeptical, for a variety of reasons.
Just on that, you mentioned the chairperson of the Commission. I mean, this final volume was due to have been handed over in April. He then went to request another extension from the High Court, right? That was then granted. It was supposed to have lapsed last week, June 15th. We're now on what? The 21st of June, and this report has still not been handed over. At what point do the delays go beyond what is reasonable and acceptable?
I think that's difficult to say. I mean, I think we are going to see this report. I think we may very well see it still this week. I think if it were to be delayed, by another month or so, then that would raise additional eyebrows. But I mean, I think we have to be clear. This is a commission that had hearings for well over 3 years. It's already produced several volumes, many pages, significant findings and recommendations that implicate a lot of powerful people. This is going to be the final chapter of the report. I think, the caution on the side of the Chief Justice and the Commission to make sure that the report that they release is a report that they're completely satisfied with, that completely reflects the effort that they've put in up to this point, is somewhat reasonable and to be understood. I mean, whether this report gets released tomorrow or it gets released next week, the real work that needs to be done is the work of the police and the MPA now in terms of pushing for accountability, and the work of the state in terms of implementing these recommendations. Implicated persons are more than likely going to take this report on judicial review, so it's not the last time that the courts are going to be engaging with this report. So if these delays mean that we get a better report in the end, then I think it's probably worth it in the end.
But of course, there's no telling if the delays will make the report more worthwhile or more solid in law, does it? And given that it's likely to implicate so many high-profile and politically connected people, one would have expected that all gaps, even if they are administrative, would have been closed in a very solid way to avoid the spreading of rumors, supposition, or any other sort of suspicion that may be spread, whether right or wrong.
I mean, I hear you, and I hear the skepticism, and I understand the distrust. But I think if we look at the Commission with a broad lens, look at how it's executed its mandate, look at the reports that have been issued to date, then I think the work of the Commission has been above reproach. I think the focus is really going to now be on what happens after the Commission. The Commission will release its report, and when it releases its final report, its mandate will be complete. But then that doesn't necessarily take us much further in terms of ensuring that we have the necessary systemic reforms and the necessary accountability to ensure that state capture doesn't happen again. And that's not going to be on the commission. That's going to be on the state and on all of us to ensure that we put in better systems, to ensure that the state is protected from something like this happening again.
It's one thing to get a final reading of this volume and then take the findings on board and look to the president and the other relevant bodies in government to act. Would you agree, though, that the true test will be in how those challenges that are likely to be brought, the applications for review, how they play out in the court, and that is what's likely going to affect how quickly we can see actual movement, prosecutions, or people even being cleared at a criminal level?
I think processes going forward, I think we're all impatient around prosecutions. We're impatient around ensuring that those that were responsible for state capture are held to account. So I don't foresee that those that take the report on judicial review are going to be able to hide behind that for too long, and that these processes are now going to have to wait. I mean, the delay that we are going to sit on is a delay from the presidency in terms of getting a comprehensive response to the report and then tabling that action plan before Parliament. That is something that the president had initially said would happen in June, but now we know that's been delayed, and that will probably only happen sometime in September or October. So, there's so much work that needs to be done. We can congratulate the commission for the work that it's done, but we need to sort of see it as only part one in a much broader process now to ensure that we create the processes and systems which protect us from state capture in the future, and that those that were responsible for state capture this first time around are held accountable.
Karam Singh, Executive Director at Corruption Watch. Good to have your time as always. Thank you.